so little time. When I think of my favorite hoaxes, racial hoaxes of white racism that we hear so often now, the one I think of first, of course, is from the University of Delaware, where a co-ed saw a piece of string in a tree, told the campus police it was a noose. Next thing you know, this is at 10 o'clock at night, next thing you know, they're waking the president of the university up out of bed. They're doing a full investigation through the night. They schedule a rally for 4 o'clock the next day, an anti-racism rally. And then it was found out about 10 or 11 o'clock that next morning that it wasn't really a noose. It was a piece of string that was attached to a lantern at a faculty party from just a few months before. It didn't matter. The rally was not canceled. They kept the rally. And the president gave a speech and pretty much said, well, we know this one wasn't true, but we're here just in case it ever is true. So that's a good one. But my favorite one happened at the University of Albany. And I like that the most because that's the one we had the most video on, the most audio on. That's the one that people really reacted to most widely. That's the one where people took the Kool-Aid in a most unquestioning fashion. Do you guys remember that one? It was last February. So the story in brief is, and you'll see it in a minute, 3 black women on a city bus get off the bus in Albany, New York. It's one of these buses that collects students from the drinking spots and takes them back to the campus so they don't have to drink and drive. Anyway, 3 black women get off the bus, call the cops, and they said they were just attacked by a bunch of drunken white people who were dropping N-bombs on them and beating them up all just because they were black. And boy, the cops better do something now, or these young ladies are going to go to the cops or to go to the press with their story. Next day, next day or so at the Martin Luther King Day, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day breakfast, president of the college gets up there and incorporates this racial atrocity into his remarks. Soon after, Hillary Clinton tweets about it. Soon after, one of the girl's brother tweets about it, threatening one of the white people who attacked his sister for no reason whatsoever. I did a story on the Times saying this is a complete hoax, made up, a fabrication based on what people were saying at the time, didn't make any difference to the people involved. Not until a month later, when all these stories came out with the videos, with the audio that showed that the 3 black women were attacking the white kids on the bus. And here's a little something for those of you who are contemplating manufacturing a racial hoax via the telephone. When you dial 911, they're listening to what you say for like 5 seconds before they actually come on the line and say, hey, Albany 911, what's up? No, they're listening to you. And we're going to hear some of those tapes. So listen to the part before the operator says, hello, 911. The girls are sitting there bragging about who they punched in the face and how funny it was. But as soon as the operator comes on, they turned the switch and they turned on the faucets and they started making up this fairy tale. Well, the reason this became back in the news about a week ago because one of the girls pled guilty. 2 others went to trial. They were found guilty of some minor offenses, but not the major offenses of assault, not the major offenses of lying and all the commotion they caused. I wasn't really sure what we were going to do on that because we have so much on our platter right now. So many people getting killed. So much black mob violence. I wasn't even sure if we were going to get to put a capper on this hoax. But then the Huffington Post did it for us. You remember the Huffington Post? Those are the people that ran a story a couple weeks ago where they said white people should lose the right to vote because they're too conservative. A week or 2 later, they came out and said, well, we can't find who wrote that story. Well, it didn't really matter because no matter who wrote the story, whether it was a hoax or whether it was a person just writing it in anonymity, this story reflected the viewpoint of the people who run and own the Huffington Post. There was no doubt about that. This black on white racial hostility. But even that pales in comparison to this recent story from the Huffington Post on the bus incident. Here, let me just read you a little bit. Here's what we're going to do. I'll read you a little bit of the headline, read you a little bit of the story, and then we'll go right into several stories from the time last year where we documented very thoroughly what a hoax this was and how everybody fell for it. So the headline reads, UAlbany bus incident is repeating history. We've seen this before. They go way back to 1955, and they remind us 1955 in this little town in Alabama somewhere, a couple of black women were arrested on a bus, and everybody knows that any black person who was arrested before 1964, it was totally unjust because the black people were not doing nothing. Anyway, this guy ties it to the. He said, listen, it happened then, it happened now. Totally ignoring the audio, the video, the witnesses, the confessions on video, ignoring everything to say that these little angels on this bus in Albany were really railroaded. Well, let me just read a paragraph of what he said. But Asher Burwell and Ariel Agudio do not have hindsight on their side. What they have is a legal system that's designed to disproportionately prosecute and convict people of color. Parentheses, for no reason whatsoever. Collins, parentheses, on parentheses. They have a society that allows the benefactors of racism to define and legitimize what constitutes a racially motivated act. They have an imperfect community that too often overlooks the contributions and experiences of black women and femmes. Parentheses. We just did a video on that last week, how, black women cured AIDS and black women made it possible for us to go to the moon at NASA, but at the last minute, white guys stepped in and took credit for it. Okay, back to the article. And they have the hollow consolation that in 60 years, individuals will recall this shameful conviction and realize an unforgivable injustice took place in Albany, New York in the spring of 2017. Oh, man. One of the themes that we've been developing here over the last couple months is that black criminality is the new black entitlement. It's like anytime a black person gets arrested and convicted somehow or charged with a crime, that is somehow proof positive of white racism all the time, everywhere. That explains everything, because everybody knows black people are entitled to commit crime because of all the injustices heaped upon them in the last 4,400, 4,000, 4 million, 44 billion years. Everybody knows that. That's part of the greatest lie of our generation, the myth of black victimization, and we see it playing out full here from beginning to middle to end. Why don't we, just to remind you guys what this is all about, why don't we go through these videos from last year? There's 3 or 4 of them, but there's lots of cool stuff in there. Let's just go through them just as a reminder what this is all about and how ridiculous this black mythology is today when it comes into explain it. Extra, extra, read all about it. Large group of white people rampage through Albany, New York, beating up black college women for no reason whatsoever. Extra, extra. Well, that's what the local media in Albany, New York would have us believe, when the opposite is usually and overwhelmingly true in Albany. Let's take a look at the latest example from over the weekend, and then let's take a look at a few recent examples of black mob violence and black on white crime in Albany, and how public officials and reporters in Albany ignore, deny, condone, excuse, encourage, and even lie about it.
Tonight, Albany Police and the Albany Police Department are investigating a possible hate crime after 3 students reported being assaulted and harassed on a CDTA bus. Police say they responded around 1 this morning, and according to Albany, 3 black female students were riding on the bus on Central Avenue. The students reported a group of about 12 white men and women yelled racial slurs at them and attacked them. Albany police say 1 victim was taken to the hospital with minor injuries.
If any hate crime was committed, the Albany Police Department takes it very seriously, and as mentioned before, anyone who may have been involved in this incident will be held accountable.
And today, a statement was released by the university president. He wrote, quote, "I am deeply concerned, saddened, and angry about this incident. There is no place in Albany community for violence, no place for racial intolerance, and no place for gender violence."
Well, she may have been beaten within an inch of her life, but she wasn't beaten and traumatized badly enough to stop her from tweeting. And the tweeting spread with thousands of retweets and thousands of other people telling the tale of how Asher Burwell and her buddies were beaten because of the color of their skin. And bus that night in Albany, New York. Let's head out to the Migo concert in Albany next.
Real niggas gonna do real shit. Let these niggas hit real quick, and then we gonna turn back up. I got you, quick. You know what I'm saying? These niggas gotta hit that 30. They gotta get that 30. Man, them niggas been hitting for about like 3 hours now, my nigga.
Did you copy them? We need a car outside. They're breaking from destroying cop cars out here. Did you copy? You're calling us? We failed 12 Central. 10 more officers from surrounding agencies. Get them over here. Great team. Everybody pay attention. They're throwing bottles. Watch your back. Central, have whoever's coming here step it up. Tracy. 112, note the window of CP6 has been smashed out here on 4th Street. 112 received.
Because if one of them hit me,
Albany man is under arrest, accused in a fight Sunday night that left one person shot and 2 others stabbed. Police arrested 46-year-old Robert Carter. He was charged with criminal possession of a gun. According to police, the fight broke out at North Manning and 3rd Street. A woman was shot in the hand. 2 others had stab wounds.
A large fight at a local McDonald's is highlighting a disturbing trend. The brawl went on for several minutes inside and outside the restaurant. Several bystanders were there while the punches were flying, but instead of trying to stop the fight, they instead reached for their phones to record the moment. As News 10's Rachel Yankunis found out, this is not anything new.
On Sunday afternoon, an incident occurred at this McDonald's on Central Ave that caused people to whip out their cell phones. But instead of calling police, they used their cell phones to record an entire fight that broke out at this parking lot behind me. This video going viral is hard to watch for Phyllis. That's because her teenage daughter is one of the victims assaulted outside this Albany McDonald's.
9 or 10 girls against one girl.
Phyllis says her daughter was working here when she was attacked by a group of 20-something-year-olds and teens. They also attacked at least 2 other victims. But in the video, not one person calls for help.
And that's the most appalling part. No one ever tries to break it up. They had begun to leave by the time the police got there.
Instead, they're all recording it on their cell phones, including a McDonald's manager.
Did not call the police immediately. Did not try to defuse the situation. She, in fact, watched
I reached out to McDonald's corporate office. They told me they will immediately review this incident and follow up with me on Wednesday. Police tell me they're also investigating, and Phyllis is ready to press charges if it means keeping her daughter safe.
This is not just my child, there's other children. There's more children that were there.
Dr. Rudy Neidiger suggests this video shows the blurred lines between virtual reality and reality, because he asks, when did taking out your cell phone to record become the right thing to do?
When just even a few people start establishing a social reality, then that becomes the right thing to do.
2 nights, 4 robberies, all within one Albany neighborhood.
So far, police have arrested 1 suspect, but several others are still on the loose.
Amy Cutler joins us live from the Pine Hills area where the crimes happen and where many college students are on edge because of this. Amy?
Among those I spoke with tonight is a young man who found himself the victim of one of these 4 robberies, and tonight he admits he is lucky to be alive.
Pretty horrific.
That's how UAlbany senior Adrian Carter describes the assault and robbery he endured early Sunday morning. It happened on Washington Avenue by Quayle Street. He says the 8 to 10 suspects that attacked him got away with his phone and tablet. He ended up in the hospital.
A couple scrapes on my elbows, and then I have 2 black eyes, no surface skin on my forehead, and I had a level 2 concussion.
And police say this was one of 4 robberies that took place over the weekend, all of them in Albany's Pine Hills, just as college students head back to class.
Knowing that it was right outside my door, didn't make me feel safe at all.
UAlbany junior Katie Croucher says her roommate was robbed by 2 men who appeared to have a gun. Police confirming that happened around 4:30 Saturday morning on State Street.
She was shaken up about it, but she was happy that she was not hurt and she's still alive. Just a phone and money.
And walking in a group didn't prevent the 3rd robbery. Police say 4 young men were on Ontario Street when a group of suspects approached and assaulted them. But there was an arrest in this case. 16-year-old Shaquan Duncan now charged with assault. Police say 5 minutes before that, a 20-year-old man was beaten up and robbed on Hamilton Street.
I document a lot of black mob violence and black on white crime in Albany, New York. And Don't Make the Black Kids Angry, and in White Girl Bleed a Lot. My favorite case, or most interesting case, came in downtown Albany at a new movie theater called Movie Land. The father and his 2 daughters were in there watching one of the new action movies. Dozens of black people were in the movie theater, creating chaos, creating mayhem, noise. The father says to the people responsible, "Hey, could you guys keep it down a little? I'm trying to enjoy the movie with my daughters." They beat the hell out of him in front of his daughters for that. The daughters even knew the people who did it. They went to school with them. But here's where it gets interesting. The big dog of the Albany Press Corps, Casey Seiler, he wrote a big column about my story, saying, "Colin, that riot had no color. Violence has no color, Colin. Never know it does not." And that's pretty much the attitude of reporters and public officials in Albany during all those cases. During all the black on white assaults near the campus, all the black mob violence near the campus. There are lots of them. During all the stuff at McDonald's, during all the stuff that happens downtown on the middle of the street, all on video. And it's wildly out of proportion black. Yet these are the same reporters. Whenever anybody shows up and whispers Black Lives Matter with unsubstantiated fairy tales, they just cannot write enough about them. So I guess we'll figure out in a day or so what really happened on that bus to the campus. The bus had 12 cameras on it. So I guess we'll figure out if large groups of white people are rampaging through Syracuse, beating up black people for no reason whatsoever, or if something else happened, something else that's probably more in line with the normal day-to-day stuff that happens in Albany, which you just saw here, documented here. So if you're ever up in Albany, look up my buddy Casey Seiler. Tell him I'm still out here, still documenting black mob violence in Albany that he and his buddies at the Times statesman ignore, deny, condone, excuse, encourage, and even lie about. Ask him what's up with that. And two, if you're partying in downtown Albany and you want to hop on the free bus that goes from the bar district back to the campus, well, I guess that's better than driving. It's supposed to be safer. But just remember one thing. Don't make the black kids angry.
Beat them down to the point that one of them had to go to the hospital. The civil rights activist saw it. She didn't hear no racial slurs. She didn't see no 12 racist white people beating her up. As I could saw on the tape, all I saw was her moving around. Now, this is the thing. Miss Aisha Burwell and two other girls that was with the situation. Why did you do that? Why did you get on here and lie? Let's go ahead and roll the clip.
Cheers and tears as Aisha Burwell takes center stage at UAlbany. She and her friends Ariel and Alexis say they were the victims of a hate crime over the weekend on a CDTA bus. They say about a dozen white students used racial slurs against them, and eventually the altercation got physical, bad enough to send one of them to the hospital.
We are shocked, upset, but we will remain unbroken. We stand here with strength because we value our worth as black women and as human beings in general.
Aisha Burwell, let's talk about you first. You got on TV having a rally, getting all these people stirred up at the University of Albany, having a rally for you, thinking something like this really happened to you, and you were lying the whole time. You're lying.
Hundreds of people crowded the UAlbany campus, showing signs of support and calling for change.
At no point on the University at Albany campus should race and discrimination exist. I call on the administration of the University at Albany to do the right thing.
For some of the ralliers, that includes curriculum changes, hiring more minority faculty and administrators, sensitivity training for university police, and
we demand that those UAlbany students who committed this hate crime based on racism and sexism be expelled immediately for physical.
The investigation into just what happened continues, so no word on whether that would happen. But UAlbany President Robert Jones did briefly address the incident at the annual Martin Luther King Jr. celebration.
There is no place on our campus for intolerance, no place for violence, and no place for hatred.
Everybody's trying to defend you. You got celebrities talking about you. You have radio stations talking about you. You have Black Lives Matter even talking about you. And I'm kind of glad they didn't go over there, because you know how they get on the road and do stupid stuff. I don't agree with that stuff they be doing. Not at all. But they could have went over there with that mess, okay, that they be pulling. All because of your lying. Then your brother, who's in the NFL, got involved with that stuff, jeopardizing your brother's career, threatening a guy that goes to that college thinking he's defending your honor, to the point that young man left his school because he was feared because this dude was going to do him something. All because of your lies. That young man left because of you. Your brother could have put his NFL career in jeopardy because of you and the two other women, because you were lying. And this is the thing that pisses me off the most about the situation. You don't sit up here and accuse people of that kind of stuff if that did not happen. Now, a few days ago, when this initially happened, the girl that you saw speaking made some tweets speaking about how it happened. And she stated that they was on a bus and they start calling them ignorant N-words. And they kept going back and forth with them, picked a fight, start fighting them. People was recording it. Nobody helped them out. They was jumped by these racist savages. Then when they told the police what happened, the police was dismissing them. Didn't want to pay attention to them, what they was reporting to them. That makes sense. Pretty typical of some of them, because anytime you report what these racists do, same thing like about Facebook. Racists can go amok on Facebook, say whatever they want to say. A black person say something on Facebook, you shut their whole account. All the history and racial tension and everything else going on in this country, the last thing we need is some black person, Hispanic, white, or whatever else making an accusation and it proves to be a lie because they got a tape. You silly female, you didn't see the tape rolling around. I mean, you sit up here and lied all kind of ways. You had the president of the university took off from his vacation to come back to the school to address a lie. How do you sit up there and live with yourself knowing that everybody then found you out? What do you think? That you wasn't going to be found out? Why did you want sympathy? What, you were loved as a child or something? This is the most attention you'd have got in your life? You don't sit up here and play with that kind of stuff. Because people take racism very seriously. And what you did, because of true racism and true stereotypes in this country, because you know how you represent the group, you can't represent yourself. You know how that goes in this country. Now, when some real incident of racism happened, let's say at that college campus, they're going to remember your lying trifling behind, and they're not going to remember it. They're going to say, you know what? That person's lying too. Down. We'll get to talking about Facebook another time and how racist Facebook is and how we need to find another website. But continuing. So this girl was in the hospital. She was thanking people for reaching out and wanted to tell her story. I reached out to her, told her, you know, if she would like to come on the show, do an interview. We'd definitely love to talk to her and hear exactly how it happened. I haven't seen any other videos come out. They say all the videos were turned over to the police. So I don't know if they have it. We don't know if you're going to see it at all. You know how that goes with that situation covering up for racists. Because you know why they lying? Because this chick lied. These two other chicks lied and said they were beat up by some racist white people. It didn't even happen. I didn't see no racist white people doing you a thing. Only white people I seen was they were just sitting down watching you act like a hyena on the bus. But let's talk about this. You know, this stuff keep happening over and over and over and over and over. And I said this on social media and I say this here. These young black people, they are having an attitude when it comes to this stuff. And the more and more these incidents keep happening, the more and more they say, well, maybe we should just separate. Maybe we should go ahead and find our own corner and stay away from them. And then people will say, well, we tried that already. We did separate but equal. But you know what? It's kind of like if you go by a dog that bites you all the time, and every time you walk by the dog, it bites you. Every time it bites you. So you say, you know what? Maybe I need to stay away from the dog. And it'd be like the dog saying, well, why you want to stay away from me? The dog will talk. What do you want to stay away from me for? I mean, that's not right. That's not fair. Why you want to be apart? But then you go back by the dog again and the dog bites you. I mean, common sense would say stay away from a dog who's biting you. So then it's like a lot of black people starting to say, you know what, maybe we should kind of get to ourselves. Now, am I promoting that sort of thing? I'm not promoting anything. I'm just saying that black people are tired of being punched, kicked, shot, abused, and everything else systematically. It's one thing and you have criminals doing it, which criminals doesn't represent anyone but themselves. But when you have it as the norm and as the history of this nation, when that sort of thing would happen all the time, that was just another day at the park. What happened on that bus will happen to black people. I mean, what is wrong with you? It pisses me off. I don't like when people make accusations of racism and just to cover themselves. It don't matter where they at. And it's wrong for that. Chick, you need to come out and apologize to all those people that you lied to. That's the first thing you need to do. And you need to leave that school because you need to tuck your head down in embarrassment. You know, it's the same thing. We always see this. The only time they're brave unless they got a gun or it's a bunch of them. You notice they never try that mess one-on-one. Never try that mess. When you say two words to you one-on-one, they see you there walk on the other side of the street. When they get a bunch of them, oh, now all of a sudden you're getting bad now. Or they have a gun, now they bad. That's why a lot of them don't want them guns taken away. Not that I support taking guns away, but they don't want their guns taken away because their manhood is attached to that gun. And they know they are weak and cowards without a gun. And that's just really how these people are. And a civil rights activist even saw the actual full tape from the bus itself. And the end result, you will see why I'm about to go in on this chick. Let's go ahead and roll the clip.
This was our first glimpse into what happened inside the CDTA bus early Saturday morning. Most of what you can hear is a lot of commotion.
People have claimed that it was a racial incident. It's kind of hard to tell.
Today, political activist Alice Green had access to multiple different angles recorded from inside that bus at the time of the incident.
I didn't hear anything.
On Saturday, the university president sent out this statement saying 3 students, quote, stated racial slurs were used by perpetrators whom they described as a group of 10 to 12 white males and females.
We haven't heard, at least I haven't heard, any racial slurs or incidents.
Who initiated the fight?
That's even difficult to tell.
Green says she did see in the video people who tried to break up the fight.
Some people are trying to break up stuff, but I didn't see, for instance, any white male attack anybody.
But one thing that did stand out to her,
one woman jumped up, but I don't even know why she jumped up.
But she tells us the bus was so crowded she couldn't say who exactly it was. DA source says his decision to share the videos had more to do with calming tension.
Felt it was necessary given the climate and our observation of social media and the discussions and the threats that were going on. And
they're cowards, they're weak, and they like to try to pick on people who aren't doing anything to them. I can understand if somebody's messing with you, but they wasn't messing with them. And he said, well, you know, because you're going to have the racist apologists show up. You don't know if they told them anything. No matter what somebody tell you, like you tell me. No matter what somebody tell you, nobody should be putting a hand on you. Right? Right. Well, shoot, you may start a fight with a chick. And just because you may get into a fight with a white chick or whatever doesn't mean anything that was racial. And according to what they say, you the one saying racial slurs toward white folks. But people need to wake up in this country and understand that this country has not changed at all. It's still racism going on. It's still discrimination. It's still black people getting beat up. It's still black people getting hung, but they cover it up, make sure they say it's a suicide. I don't care nothing about no color. I tell people that. I check white folks if they wrong. I check black folks. I check anybody. I don't care about that stuff. I'm not no Al Sharpton that will sit there and only talk about racism and not check us when we're wrong. Because I will check you when we're wrong. I have a right to check you because I'm part of your family. If anybody gonna check you, I'm gonna do it. You can't tell me nothing. These things still happening in this nation. And a lot of people say, well, it's 2016. No matter if it's 2016 or 1816. It's the same thing. It's hate. Hate for the black man and hate for the black woman. And we showcase these stories to let you know that, no, we have not progressed. That's what we're not gonna do here because we don't pride ourselves on putting out the correct information at all times.
It is about 60 seconds of footage taken at the back of a 60-foot-long CDTA stretch bus. Time Warner Cable News has independently confirmed this is the fight early Saturday involving some number of UAlbany students. We can see 3, an apparent female wearing green, another wearing black, and a third participant seen here, appearing to have her hair pulled. The video features a number of punches and slaps from the woman wearing green. The one wearing black appears to climb over a seat. Then there are the sounds. People shouting about the fight, others encouraging the fight. Which leads us to the rest of the bus riders in the video, most of them standing by, only watching. One male briefly puts his hand on the back of a fighter. He is quickly slapped away. Another male is seen cornered by the fight, at one point even appearing to be struck.
3 black women, all UAlbany students, told police that they were beaten and kicked by 10 or 12 white students during this fight. 2 of those women were treated at the hospital for scrapes and bruises. It is important to note that the video you've seen is not official CDTA surveillance video, and it does not show the duration of the whole bus ride, nor the whole fight. What it does do is match a witness account we first heard Monday, which said that only about 3 women were involved in the fight.
got 3 of them down.
911, what's the address of the emergency?
Hi, I just got dumped on a bus and no one did anything.
Okay, where are you?
Now I'm walking towards Empire, but I was just on the 12. Me and my 3 friends got drunk, dumped. There was a racial crime. They were calling us nigger and all this stuff. And if someone doesn't come and takes us down or something, I'm going to call the news because it was ridiculous. They ripped out all of our hair and everything.
Okay, what city are you in?
We're in Albany.
You're in the city of Albany?
Yes.
Okay, hold on. Let me transfer you directly to them, okay?
So for several days, if not several weeks, the social justice machinery and the criminal justice machinery of Albany was in full swing. They were in full, they were down with the cause of black victimization. They knew that these young black women were assaulted and beaten by that crowd of unruly white kids, because everybody knows that happens all the time. Darn it, we just don't have any video of it or any other proof of it. That's okay, we still know it happens. That's the greatest lie of this generation. And it's one thing for the lie to play out and for us to see it as a lie and call it a lie with lots and lots of audio and video, but then this guy comes in and goes, oh no, it really happened despite all the audio and video. That's just a bunch of white people redefining what racism is. That's the Huffington Post. That's a major liberal source of news, not just in this country, but around the world. And so if they're saying this about an incident, a crime, a hoax, that we have audio, video, testimonies, 911 calls showing the whole thing is confessions, showing the whole thing is nothing but a big fat lie, they're trying to disagree with that. What about all the rest of these hoaxes out there? What about all the rest of these accusations of racism that all we have is a person's word that are equally untrue? That's what we're doing on this channel every day. We're exposing the greatest lie of our generation. And this happens to be a good part of it. This little story from Albany, New York, where the college president, the newspapers, Hillary Clinton, professional football players, newspaper reporters, public officials in Albany and all over the country were absolutely determined not to make the black kids angry.